The opinions expressed in the Brothers-in-Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.
Thanks for tuning into Brothers-in-Law on Go Country 105. I'm Larry Mandel.
And I'm Rob Mandel.
And we've been trial attorneys here in Los Angeles for over 40 years.
On our show, we will discuss current events, talk about legal issues, and have some very entertaining guests stop by. So stay tuned every week for Brothers-in-Law right here on Go Country 105. All right, here we are back on Brothers-in-Law. I'm Rob Mandel.
And I'm Larry Mandel.
We're so glad to be back here on Go Country. Hey, Larry, do you remember when in high school, I don't know if this happened to you, but when I was in high school, they brought everyone into the auditorium, the school auditorium, and all of a sudden there's this guy hypnotizing people, and he would get, 6 or 7 kids on stage, put them in chairs, and then, allegedly put them under, and next thing you know, they're acting like monkeys, and they're dancing, and they've never danced before, and they're singing, and they're shy people, and they're doing all this crazy stuff. Did you have an experience like that in high school?
No, but I want to know if you were the monkey.
Well, I would act like, I don't need to be hypnotized to act like a monkey. But I tell you what, I often wondered if that was real. And luckily today, we have the real deal with us today. We have Gina Rodriguez, who's one of the top hypnotherapists in town. And hi, Gina, how are you?
Hi, good morning.
Welcome, Gina.
Hi.
So, Gina, tell us, before we talk about hypnotherapy, tell us about hypnosis. What is it?
Hypnosis is an actual natural state of mind that we already have within ourselves. Hypnosis is just a relaxed state where you get to focus on the part of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you set everything to the side. So just to give you a really quick example of what hypnosis feels like, it's something you've all experienced before at one time, I'm pretty sure. If you've ever had a daydream state, you're in classroom and the teacher's talking to you, and all of a sudden you just fade away. You could hear her in the background, but you're focusing on something completely different. That is a natural environmental state.
I was hypnotized all through high school, man. And college, I think.
That's pretty good, Rob.
Yeah.
But I was hypnotized once when I was studying for a law exam in law school, and I went to a hypnotherapist, and it was, just not 1, 2, 3. I had to get kind of relaxed, and then there was certain suggestion, and I never went into the monkey state like Rob did, but I did feel real calm, and I felt that afterward that when I was going to tackle the exam, I had it under control. Does that kind of explain it?
Yes. So there's suggestibility involved. So everybody is pretty much capable of going into hypnosis. It all depends on your suggestibility. Some people can go in faster than others, and you're really tapping into that natural, relaxed state of mind. And one of the biggest things, for example, lawyers or anybody that's doing any testing, is you want to get the person in a state equal to the state that they're going to be taking that test. So while they're studying, that state has to be similar to the state of the test, so that information can come up naturally and calm and easily.
Now, the state that I took the test in was nervous and freaking out and panicking, and so we didn't want to be in that state.
Definitely not, no.
Okay.
That's a difficult state to try to retrieve all the information, because the information is in us. Everything that's around us, we are already absorbing. We're absorbing it through our senses. So everything that we see, that we hear, it's going into our subconscious mind, and there is a almost like a computer state where you have everything downloaded. It's the retrieval aspect of getting that information, the recall aspect, that depending on the state that you're in, that information can come to you naturally, it can come to you easily, or you could have a damn hard time trying to get it.
Right.
Like if you're in that nervous state.
How does then, what do you do to help someone to get to that state?
We go through a state of relaxing techniques. First of all, especially if you've never experienced hypnosis before, I want to get you as comfortable as possible, give you some examples of what it is that it's going to feel like, so that you can get that sense of, okay, you're not taking control of my mind. Because a lot of people come in, and that's the thing that they're most scared of is, I have somebody that's going to try to tell me what to do, and I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. So first and foremost, you want to get them as comfortable as possible, give them some examples of what they're capable of doing and not doing, and make sure that I have that rapport with them where I am just here to guide you. I'm just here to help you go in the direction that you want to go to. In all reality, you are the one doing the complete work. So once we have that confidence and that comfortability, we are able to go into a couple different suggestions. We can go into a relaxation of state where I will actually pinpoint every part of their body that's going to relax. I will count them down, going into even deeper state of hypnosis. And mind you, we do use the word sleep, but it's not sleep. You are not knocked out while you're in hypnosis. You are able to hear everything.
And you don't lose your sense of natural inhibition necessarily, or your own self-control.
Not at all.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a misunderstanding that you see from like I think in your high school example.
Right, and I think in those examples, aren't the people either they're really just play acting, or they really wanted to do whatever they were doing, and they were doing it because they had some kind of permission to do it through the hypnosis.
Exactly. With hypnosis, you want to have the permission. I can't sit you in a chair and go against your will and try to put you into hypnosis, because chances are you're going to fight me. You're going to fight me on a subconscious level. And even when you are giving me the permission to put you into a state of hypnosis, I cannot tell you to do something that's going to go against your moral. So if I get you into a state that's comfortable enough for you to go very deep, and I say, okay, you know what, on such and such state, you're going to go and rob the bank and we're going to go 50-50, you are really going to come up and say, wait, what, did I just hear that?
Oh, man, I was hoping we could, at least figure out how to,
Wait a minute,
Yeah,
Rob.
okay.
Crossing the line.
Right.
But I remember when I was hypnotized that there was this process where you kind of relaxed your entire, you started from head to toe. Is that part of the process?
That is part of the process, yes.
And how long does the process take in general to get to a state where you are hypnotized?
Depending on the person's suggestibility, sometimes with just talking to them within 5 minutes, they can go in. Most hypnotherapy is actually a process of about 20 to 30 minutes of just making sure that the person's going in comfortably and deeply and relaxed, and relax them as much as possible so that they're in that relaxed state, almost as of a sleeping state. And then from there, you continue with the actual process of the therapy itself and creating the changes that the person actually came in for.
Have you suffered or been injured by someone else's negligence? When you need a legal team that will stand up for what is right, won't give up the fight and obtain justice, call 818-886-6600. Mandel Trial Lawyers specializes in personal injury cases of all types. Whether it's a car accident, product or premises liability, dog bite, or a catastrophic injury, Mandel Trial Lawyers are there for you when the fight is worth it. Call now for your free consultation. 818-886-6600. Let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
So what can hypnotherapy, or what have you used hypnotherapy to help people do?
So hypnotherapy is a very broad arena. There is so much that you can do with it. And it really all depends on what personally you feel comfortable with and what you want to do. You can use hypnosis as a tool to help somebody stop smoking, lose weight, motivation and confidence. But on a deeper level, you can actually help people with trauma. So personally myself, even though I like doing smoking cessation and confidence and self-esteem, I love to help even young women, teenagers, work on self-esteem and confidence. I do tend to gear myself to the emotional aspect of trauma. So a car accident per se, there's emotional trauma. Right. There's other types of trauma that doesn't necessarily have to be a physical one. And so those are the types of things that I like to tackle, is going back to releasing that negative emotion, which is anger, sadness, hurt, guilt, and taking that into a breakthrough,
Wow.
releasing them completely
How
from
many
it.
sessions would one have to go to you to get some kind of results?
So in the hypnotherapy world, we actually can go, we can't say exactly an amount of sessions because everybody's different and every situation is different. So we have to tailor to this person specifically. But sessions can be anywhere between 1 session to 12 sessions. It could even be, I've actually personally had a couple of clients where I do what's called a breakthrough. And I literally spent 6 to 8 hours with them. And we go a whole day of just focusing on eliminating every single negative aspect of emotional trauma that they have.
Wow.
Then we move into goal setting. What is it that they're looking forward to? And then we use hypnosis as the permanent aspect of what they will be focusing on and how that's going to become their normal each and every day from there forward.
Gina, is there some way that they tap into a buzzword? Like I've seen that in the shows or whatever, like if you heard a word.
Yes, actually those are called anchors. And anchors can be used with words. They can be used with symbols, with objects. And you can create a word per se. And each and every time they hear that word, it's a word that's going to trigger something positive that they want. So just like we have triggers that trigger negative things in our lives, we can change it and give you a positive trigger to create a positive action in your life.
Wow, that's fascinating.
That's pretty cool.
And you did talk about use in car accidents, and of course, Larry and I deal with deeply traumatized people from car accidents and other forms of injury-producing events. And it did remind me that I have sent a couple of people to hypnotherapists. One in particular, a musician who was kept from playing her music for literally 2 or 3 years, a professional musician, due to injury. And it was deeply traumatizing to this woman. And hypnotherapy did help. I mean, it wasn't a cure-all, but it did help her a lot. And is that the kind of thing that you've done with accident victims and things like that?
Yes. So now what we do have to remember is that hypnosis itself, it is a tool. It is a natural tool that we can help people with. However, there is a much deeper underlying issue sometimes, an issue that could be something that only a psychologist or a psychiatrist can help. And when it comes to something like that, then what we are able to do is actually help out adjacent to them. So depending on what this victim had, that this person that you're talking about, whatever that situation was, it could have been something that went something even deeper. In which case, yes, both psychologists and hypnotherapists can work side by side to help a person overcome something.
And you're trained to identify when somebody should have as an adjunct something besides yourself.
That's correct.
Right, okay.
And so for people that are dealing and struggling with food and the amount that the intake and boredom, eating and stress eating, how do you deal with that?
So that's actually one of those cases where you have to be very careful with, because you can help somebody lose weight and you can help them get away from food, but we have to be careful as to what's going on, because if it's bulimia, if it's something that's more of a diagnosis, that's something that has to be taken care of by a psychologist. They do have to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but at the same time, a hypnotherapist can jump on board and help with the referral, with the okay of that doctor.
What if it's just craving? Like what I find myself doing is, let's say it's 7, 8 o'clock at night, I'm watching Game of Thrones, and I can't do it without something, in my hand going into my mouth. Popcorn or
Chocolate.
peanuts. Oh God, the chocolate, whatever, and then I look down and I got a gut all of a sudden, and I know it's this after hours eating thing, this snacking. How do I need a psychologist, or can I benefit from you?
That's actually something you can benefit from a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
Using hypnosis, using neurolinguistics tools, somebody can actually help you to eliminate that craving. And actually, it becomes a habit at that point, because you're watching Game of Thrones. You actually have associated Game of Thrones with me having a snack. Well,
Okay.
that snack, that habit can be changed. And that craving can also be changed to, let's focus on something healthy. I could still have a snack. Maybe we still want a snack, right? But let's change it to something healthy. And we have to change the mentality around it. Well, I'm going from eating peanuts and M&Ms to maybe some celery sticks and carrots
Oh
because
my.
this
Really?
is going to be
I
a
got to
better
go that far? Oh, God.
because this is going to be a better option for me, or whatever it is that you think of. Now, when we're helping people, one of the things that I want to be able to tell everybody is we are not making the changes for you based on what we think is right for you. That's not at all. So like right now, we're joking around going from M&Ms to celery sticks. That's not something I would do for you. That's something you would come to me and say, hey, you know what? This is my problem. I want to stop eating these M&Ms and get something a little bit maybe less sugary or less healthy or more healthy, whatever words you use. And I would help you based on what you've told me to figure out what the best option is for you. So the option comes from you.
Right.
That's why at the beginning I was enforcing the fact that I don't make the change for you. I don't force anything on you. I am simply just here as your guidance to create the change that you yourself want to make.
You got to want it.
You
Gina.
gotta want it.
Stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and of course, brothersonlaw.com. How do you suggest to somebody, Rob, stop those chocolate and peanuts and go to that celery that you love so much?
I just put a little chocolate on that celery and we're good.
Oh, there you go. Nice compromise.
Yeah.
So is there something that you can impart to the audience of how that all works, or is it too involved?
Well, it is too involved. There are many options that we can do, but for example, just to throw one out there right now, if you wanted to eliminate, let's say that was the goal, you wanted to eliminate the chocolates, and maybe you wanted to eliminate them for good, or maybe you just want just less chocolates. We would take something called NeuroLinguistic Programming. That's one of the tools. I could use one of the tools that, because NLP is big, I could use one of those tools and create a change where I might change some of the senses that are wrapped around what you have, the relationship you have with M&Ms. Maybe change the color, change the taste, maybe change the location of where you have that image on you, and then create a new one. Create a new one with whatever it is that you want to replace.
Right.
So now you have something that is maybe right here. You see it right in front of you, and you're like, every time I think of M&Ms, they're like right here. I can smell them. They're nice and beautiful. They're bright,
Very
right?
colorful.
Very colorful. And we would go ahead and dim it and push it back, and maybe even make it black and white, and maybe even attach a nasty smell to it.
Yeah,
so
show
that
them
every
melting.
time
They actually do melt in your hand after a while.
And so now you're creating a different association to that idea that you have of that object or that thing that you no longer want a part of you.
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the Brothers-in-Law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. One of the things I'm curious about, because, you know, my brother and I and our two partners, you know, we take cases to trial. And what we do, you know, it can be very stressful, and there can be so much information that we have to distill down to tiny little moments and tiny little bits of information. And there's a lot of, like I said, stress, there's a lot of anticipation, a lot of anxiety that kind of comes in that whole process. How would hypnosis help people like us and other professions that are facing those kinds of, you know, tasks that they have to do?
Well, you're trying to get, now, are you asking me as the attorney, like the anxiety, all those little things, or is this your client that you're trying to get all that information from?
Maybe both.
Well, both. But let's start with the guy who's got to make this presentation, like a lawyer like myself. how does hypnosis, how would you use hypnosis to help someone who's got to do a big presentation, has got to do, not just a trial for a lawyer, but let's say they're a performer and they got to get up, or someone, they got to give a big speech.
Public speaking.
Yeah, anything
That's
like
a big
that.
one.
Okay, so how does hypnosis play into, or can it play into helping someone be more effective in that
It
aspect?
can.
That's a good question,
Yes,
Rob.
it can. So public speaking being one of the number one top fears, yes, it's very common. But when you're going to, these things of presentations, speaking in front of somebody, tests, these are all things that we know are coming. We know the date, we know the time, we have an idea of the details. And so what happens is we get stuck on the anticipation of that event. So that the anticipation of that event gives us the anxiety.
That's so true.
It gives us the worry. It gives us the what if. And that is what starts the spiral. And so what hypnosis does is that it prepares you to start thinking like that's already happened. See, your mind doesn't know when something has happened or it hasn't happened. It doesn't know if it's real or not real. It just
Really?
knows it's there.
Okay.
So if you start training your mind to think it's already happened, by the time you do it, it's normal, it's natural.
Nice.
So that's the same thing with sports performance.
Yeah.
Sports performance uses hypnosis for that. They start practicing and practicing and practicing in their mind, so that by the time the event gets here, the mind is already shooting down the information to the body. The body already knows what to do.
There's some familiarity, if I can get that out.
Yeah. Hypnotize my brother so he can pronounce that word.
Familiarity.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're familiar with
Yeah.
it, right?
Familiar, yes.
That's a Porky Pig moment, right?
Yeah. What do I fit? That's all, folks.
All right. Well, I tell you what. Let's talk. What we like to do is change things up just a little bit. But I still want to talk to you about the other thing I was talking about, which is how do you use hypnosis to take large amounts of information and help the mind distill it and crystallize it. Is it the same process that we were just talking about?
Yeah, it's pretty much
basically?
the same process. So your mind has so much information being thrown at it every single day, every moment of the day. We're taking every information via our senses, sight, smell, hearing, tasting. And so our mind has to make a choice. It has to make it has to take charge and decide what's important from all this information that I'm taking in. Am I going to delete it? Is this information something I'm not going to need, so I'm going to delete it? Or maybe there's a couple of things that are similar, and so it generalizes. Or in some cases, it distorts it. So distorting usually tends to happen in like accidents. So what you're saying is you have a bunch of information that you need to focus on. Well, with hypnosis and with other tools that we can come up with, we can focus on, okay, what is important from all this information? Perhaps even generalize it. Are there some things that are very similar to each other, and let's compact them over here on this side, and this area, this arena is going to be this whole set of information. Then this section is going to be this whole set. And so you start breaking things down to where it makes sense to you.
And it's not so overwhelming.
Exactly.
That sounds like a long process. That's not one session, is it?
Depending.
I think we both need about 10 sessions right now.
I'm going to give you 11, Rob.
Yeah.
I'll take 10.
All right, let's do a couple of little different things here.
The tip of the day?
The tip of the day. Larry, you want to do that?
Yeah, so this week's tip is if you have an allergy or medical condition, paramedics should be informed about it, and so you're able to give that information. Not only do we recommend wearing a medical alert bracelet, but now in your smartphone is a section to enter your medical information that doesn't require your password access. So if you're in your iPhone, for example, under the health icon, you can program emergency contacts and your birth date, medical condition, medical notes, allergies, medicines, medications, blood type, height and weight, and keep those details up to date just in case of an emergency. Makes sense.
Okay, now wait a minute. I don't know if I understood that tip of the day very well. In other words, if you got some medical condition, instead of wearing a medical alert bracelet, there's an app that you can put on your phone that the paramedics can access without a password and get at your salient medical information. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yes, but I think it's in conjunction with a medical alert bracelet, depending on your condition. So don't discount that, right?
Oh,
It's
okay.
in conjunction.
Okay.
But
All
that's
right.
what I'm saying. There is apparently this is something new to me. There's an app that you can access.
Okay. All right. Did you know?
It's an
We're going to move
icon
on to
on
our...
the- it's an
Gina's
icon
looking
on
at
the
us like,
phone,
what the
Rob.
heck are these guys talking about? All right. Did you know, true or false, Gina, bathhouses are against the law in California? True or false?
Huh.
That was kind of...
Against the law?
Yeah, left field. I know.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
see. I haven't seen any that I can think of.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Well, apparently Penal Code Section 11225 was enacted after the AIDS epidemic came into the news in the 80s and designed to curtail exposure to HIV and other STDs.
So it is illegal.
It is
Apparently
illegal.
so. Apparently so. Larry, hey,
Let's check the Mandel message.
why don't we check the Mandel message box?
Now it's time to check the Mandel message box.
Go ahead, Larry.
This is from Murphy in Burbank. We recently purchased a home with a swimming pool. My wife and I notice a lot of kids in the neighborhood that play in the cul-de-sac unsupervised. With summer upon us, we were thinking, are we legally obligated to lock the gates that lead to the pool on either side of our property to our backyard? What do you think, Rob? You have a pool.
I'm not sure about locking gates. I don't know, to be honest with you. I think I know you have to have a gate. You have to have a fence around your pool. And you have to have something that perhaps would be relatively kid-proof. So I'm not sure about the locking part. I'd have to check on that. We'd have to do a little double checking so Murphy can check in with us if he or she likes.
I mean,
But what do you think?
well, look, if you're that worried about it, Murphy, then lock it.
Lock the damn gate.
As long as you get,
and sleep tight.
yeah,
right.
and not worry about it.
Now, Gina, what about afraid to swim, afraid of water? Can you help someone with that through hypnotherapy?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because kids should learn how to swim.
They should.
Early.
They
Yeah.
should. It is very important. But yeah, hypnotherapy helps with fears and phobias.
Yeah. Cool. And I have some phobias, man. I could work on with you. You know, needles.
Big
I am
needles,
like-
little needles.
Oh my God! I'm like, if I see a needle, I start to get sweats. I mean, not like a sewing needle. I'm talking about one where they're coming at you like the dentist.
Yeah.
I got to do like drugs to go get my a tooth. worked
God.
out. Yeah.
And we're
Yeah.
related because when I see a needle, I'm getting my blood test. I watch them do it. I watch them
Yeah.
draw the blood.
Well, then
Bit
you're
by bit,
you're a
Rob.
better man than I guess.
Well,
So-
just a different.
Yeah,
Different brother.
hypnotherapy does work with fears and phobias. I just helped a young lady get over the, and I just went blank with the name of the phobia, but she couldn't see honeycomb shapes.
Really?
It freaked her out.
So
It did.
the
It was
cereal.
a number on her.
Honeycombophobia. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's about time to wrap it up for today, and we want to thank Gina Rodriguez for coming in and taking this time to share her knowledge and the time with us today. Gina, where can we reach you?
So you can reach me via my number is 818-570-2306, or you can look me up at lifehypnosis.com. That's LYFE hypnosis.com.
Nice.
Excellent.
And what was that phone number? One more time.
818-570-2306.
Gina Rodriguez, hypnotherapist superior. We're so glad you could be with us
That was
today.
Thank
great.
you. Thank you very much.
Really learned a lot. So if you've missed any of the show, you want to hear some of our previous shows, they are all uploaded on podbean.com. Also, check out our website for some great information, and you can send in your questions as well to brothersonlaw.com. So be sure to tune in next week at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105. And Rob?
Remember to let the scales of justice tip in your favor.
The opinions expressed in the Brothers-in-Law show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal professional legal advice.